Hi YouTube. This video I'm giving a go because I have absolutely nothing against the organization that I very strongly support, the National Eating Disorders or Initiative for Eating Disorders, and they had a ton of people looking to respond to questions for their panel this year for Eating Disorder Awareness Week, and it's not necessarily, I'm struggling a bit right now with wanting that not to be my identity, also struggling with the fact that I can't use the webcam on my laptop and have to hold this and the most slightly flattering angle I can. And anyways, no matter what though, even if I'm not chosen, I feel like I still have a couple things that I would like to say, and the theme this year for the panelists is, and the theme every year is called Honoring the Journey, but this year the theme is It Takes a Village, and it's specifically about honoring people that have been helpful for you, and that's something that I think is important to do. So if you're willing to listen for a few minutes, I will try and summarize as best as I can. I'm going to be reading off of a screen for a little bit. Right now, thank you to April for my clean underwear. That's really great. So the first question was to tell us about, these are the screening questions. Tell us about yourself and your journey. My name is Brooke. I'm a nurse and an artist. I don't know what else to say. I have long-term goals both of utilizing art and medicine to facilitate healing for eating disorder sufferers and their families. It pains me that both those areas of my life have been significantly impacted by my own personal experience. I am 28 years old and was diagnosed with an eating disorder, anorexia, the binge purge subtype, at the age of 16 in 2005. Brackets, it could have been 1917, 1975. Still the dark ages of treatment and understanding of eating disorders, which is, in my opinion, absolutely obscene, considering how many centuries old they have been around. And as someone interested in medicine, I really don't know why more people aren't interested in something that is the most lethal of all mental illnesses and affects absolutely every body system. So if anyone wants to work on getting some education in that or specializing, it's not that boring. I get bored of it myself, this whole life thing, but people need help. It's common. I went off screen. Gotta keep this under 15 minutes. Of course, in hindsight, the symptoms started much earlier. If I wasn't so desperate for help at that point and had cognitive resources to research better supports, I may have been able to save myself some of the trauma of the adolescent system and place my recovery on a better trajectory. That's me trying to clean my quilt, because sometimes the easiest thing and easiest way for me to eat is to make myself some toast and peanut butter and put it in the side of my bed, and I wake up at 5 in the morning, eat it, fall back asleep, and that thing's getting kind of nasty. Also, shout out to my supplier at CamPrev for magnesium packets. Enjoying this little beverage here. Okay, so currently it feels like I'm doing a lot of course correcting in my attempts to recover. My eating disorder has the primary purpose of moderating other mental illnesses that began in childhood. And since those are recurrent, the concept of a full recovery, which I so often hear about, is incredibly daunting, depressing, and frustrating to me. I will never give up hope, but the way I see it, eating disorders are truly a ruthless, lethal disease, and without constant vigilance, simply catching a cold or losing a job can further exacerbate symptoms. My personal insights. When I heard the theme this year was It Takes a Village, I couldn't agree more. It would be impossible for me to acknowledge everyone who has had an impact, knowingly or not, on my recovery. And I think this theme certainly builds on last year's theme of silence kills. An eating disorder is arguably one of the most isolating, shameful illnesses. When I first became aware disordered eating and anxiety was overruling my life, I had a vague knowledge of some acquaintances who may have suffered as well. I had absolutely no idea how prevalent and debilitating eating disorders could be. I had no idea how to disclose the depth of my symptoms, my fear of physical damage, my detachment from the world, suicidality. My experience with adolescent treatment was utter hell and further took away my voice, but I have to give it credit with being timely enough to save my physical life. At age 16, I truly believe things can be turned around by seeing a therapist or maybe attending a couple groups. After all, I was a teenage girl who got a little obsessive about weight loss, needed some sense knocked into her. I, and certainly not those around me, had no idea the depths of the illness and its strong roots and biological underpinnings. If only it was as simplistic as one person being my guidance into health. So the essence of my message in answering these questions has been that I have had to form my own villages in various seasons of my life, and that the commonality between each and every encouraging, wonderful soul who has kept some hope alive is that they see me, in caps, Brooke. In answer to the question, who and what has been significant on my journey, I'm firstly going to acknowledge my parents. There have been years of and continue to be issues with trust and the destruction left by the eating disorder's fury. Yet I know they will advocate for me whenever they can. From the young age of 6, when I first had a major depressive episode, they went against what at the time would have been conventional wisdom to, have me be a kid, whatever it was like in 96, and sought out professional help, which unfortunately meant some medication trying. With my eating disorder, they questioned my family physician's assessment that outpatient assistance was sufficient. My parents have given me rides, helped me start a registered disability savings plan, kept me company when I could manage some sort of intake, and have been privy to absolutely vile aspects of this illness, which I could disclose, but that could really fill an intervention episode and a lot of time. That's not very nice. As much as I so terribly grieve my independence, and it's a constant fight to delineate my voice from the eating disorder, my parents do have my back, and thus I will mention them first. Over the past decade, numerous people have come in and out of my life, so many to list, and so I just like to highlight what's been meaningful. I would first of all say any single soul that's kept me grounded in this world, who has acknowledged my identity, my voice. Even though the eating disorder was an escape, when I desperately sought independence, it backfired and hard. Gaining my identity, independence, and strength as an individual have been as vital as any gains in my physical wellness. For this, I would specifically like to acknowledge my youth leaders, nursing preceptors, multiple family members and friends who have assisted with finding housing, all the fabulous staff at the Canadian Mental Health Association, which have welcomed my assistance in whatever capacity I'm able to support them with, Women's Bible Study, knitting group, also all the yarn donations from them, and anyone who has encouraged or purchased my paintings. I would have a nicer background, but it's a surprise for somebody. Currently, I have recognized my need for ongoing support through the MedAct team at Toronto General. I'm incredibly grateful for Dr. Tews, who has taken me on and saved the referral process when I moved to Toronto. I'm blessed to have co-patients and support through Sheena's Place. I'm also incredibly grateful for Dr. Downer and the team at the RTMS clinic at Toronto Western. And I really hope to develop more of an identity outside the eating disorder as I get to know the city. And that's one reason why I hesitate making a video, because it's not all my life, but I just feel like there's so many people that I do need to honor with Eating Disorder Awareness Week, and some points that I would like to have shared. There'll be more videos of cysts on this channel soon, I hope. What else do I got here? When I reflect on what I thought life would look like coming up on 29, there's a lot of grief and shame around what illness has taken from me. A lot of frustration with others, but ultimately myself, and that's another reason why it's hard to make this video. Frustration with myself for not being able to be out full force, making a difference in the world. Because of this, one of the most meaningful things that has been said to me repeatedly is from a therapist of mine, Hadassah. He says, "You are Brooke Langman, this is your story." And my timeline. Except my timeline doesn't go with the timeline I like. If I were to explain what my journey's been like, overall it's been arduous. I really don't know that anyone with eating disorder would say otherwise. Certainly not if you live anywhere without professionals who know about eating disorders and recognize them as a mental illness, which, let's face it, is most of Canada. It feels as if it's been an ungodly amount of time spent on something that is a twisted sense of security. Something that numbs me more than any drug. It gives me energy and calm and leaves me alone and feeling like I'm drowning in quicksand when family holds out hope for me to be, and as so many articles seem to have claimed lately, fully recovered or recovered, period. How has it changed over time? Initially, I was dead set on kicking this, getting back to my academic, hardworking, genuine, humorous, creative self. When I entered treatment for the first time in South Lake's adolescent program, they very much followed the family takes over so the sufferer feels they have permission to recover approach. Essentially the Maudsley method, except the reins were never handed over to me. The threat of the hospital calling CAS if family didn't comply left me trapped and isolated, not really a whole lot of reason to live. That's where my independent streak ended up kicking in after a good 10 months, and decided I need to start building my own village, which was not always successful. Not the best construction person. And I guess during and after my adolescent experience is where I developed a resolve to do everything in my power to keep anyone else from going through what I did and not receiving the proper level of care at the appropriate time. I knew I wanted to work in healthcare in some capacity, and I still very much do. And I believe some moments that I can.